Hello and welcome back to class 3 of this series. Our application is coming together now. In the last video we were able to implement the register and login mutations to register users and log them in and give them authentication tokens that they will use to now post and delete posts from our database, which we haven't implemented yet, but we will in this video. We will also implement a query for fetching a single post for the single post page in our front end later. But before we do any of that, I wanted to address this comment by Sherman Norot. I hope I didn't butcher the pronunciation of your name. He's got the picture of the shaman from Hearthstone, which is pretty cool. Alright, so he says, would be nice to show what the say hi function returns in the front end. I know it's useless, but it shows us how all wires connect. It's not useless. It's actually pretty important to try to understand things on a lower level and what's actually happening behind the scenes. I will not demonstrate the say hi because that's too basic. I will demonstrate the login mutation. And guys, don't confuse yourself. At the end of the day, what GraphQL is just we're still sending an HTTP request, a post request with some body. The only difference is now that GraphQL processes this body and responds in a different manner than traditional REST. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate that on Postman. So I'll copy this localhost 5000, paste that here, and I'll copy this body. And let me make sure to change the post to a request to a post request, and the body to raw application JSON. And here I will have a body, an object, and you will have a key query. And by the way, this needs to always be query, even if it's a mutation. This key has to be called query. And here we'll have a string, and inside of that we'll put our mutation. But this is not a multi-line string, so this needs to be on one line. Let's put this back on one line like this, and I got my server running, so that should be fine. Alright, so the only difference, we need to escape these quotation marks, otherwise they just end our string. So we put the back slash on them, and here we just send our request. And there we go, we get a 200 response, and we get our token and all the data that we got on the GraphQL playground. The exact same thing, guys. It's just, at the end of the day, it's just a post request with a query body with your mutation or query inside it. You can as well have another field for variables here, and you can put those variables there, and that's less confusing. But we're not going to use this method because even on the client, we're not going to send the requests like this. And actually, you can do this from the client using any HTTP library like Axios or anything, but we will use Apollo client, which makes it even easier to interact with our GraphQL server. Alright, so that's that. Let's actually jump into the code of our application and implement some more functionality. Alright, let's go to our type definitions and create 3 more queries and mutations. Here we will have a query called getPost, and this will take a post ID of type ID, and that's required, and it will return a post. So this will get only one post. And here we will add 2 more mutations, and this will be the create post mutation to create a post, and this will take only a body of type string, and that's required, and it will return a post, and that's required. And here we'll have the delete post. It will take a post ID of type ID, and that's required, and it will return just a string. It doesn't matter what it returns as long as it deletes it successfully. Alright, let's save that, and let's go to posts resolvers, and here we'll add the other resolver for getPost. So here we'll say async getPost, and we'll get the parent, and we will get from the arguments we'll destructure this post ID, and here we'll say try. And here we'll say const post equals await post the model dot find by ID, and we'll pass it the post ID. And here we need to say if post, because we could give it like a wrong ID or an ID of a post that's been deleted, and that could be null. So we'll say if post, so if it exists, we just return it. So return post. Else we need to throw new error and say post not found. and here if the try catch, if there was any error, we'll say catch error, and we'll say throw new error with the error object. All right, let's test that out. So the server is already running, it's restarting for me. I'm gonna refresh here just to make sure I get all the new queries. So here, instead of saying get posts, and by the way, the playground infers a query if you omit this. If you don't say query, it will think that this is a query. So we'll say get post, and we'll pass it the post ID of this one post that we have in our database. So pass it here, and we will get the ID, body, created at, and the username. All right, let's hit that, and we get that post. And if I give it a wrong ID, we get post not found, and we get this error. All right, cool. So that's working. Let's work on the create post resolver. So we go to users, and here in mutation, we go down here. Is that, yeah, that's the register. So here we'll say async create post, or actually let's put this in the posts resolvers. It doesn't make a difference, but since this has a lot of code already, I'll put it here. So yeah, so that's not there. We go here and we say underneath this query, we'll say mutation, and we'll say async create post, and this will take the parent, and it will take, so we will destructure the body. And inside of here, what we need to do is the way our protected resolver is going to work is that our user will log in and get an authentication token, and then they need to put it in an authorization header and send that header with the request, and we need to get that token and then decode it and get information from it, make sure that the user is authenticated, and then create a post. We don't want anyone creating a post. And I see a lot of people making the mistake and adding this authentication middleware as a middleware for Express itself. That means that we'll run on each request, even on non-protected routes. The way we're going to do it here, we're going to have the third argument in the Apollo server, which is the context. Here we'll say context, and this will take a callback. And here we get anything that's passed from before this Apollo server, and we get the request and the response from Express. So we need to say request. Actually, we get them in an object. So here we'll say request. We destructure the request, and we just want to forward that request. So what this will do, it will take that request body and we'll forward it to the context, and now we can access the request body in our context. So if we go back to posts, now if we use this third argument context, inside this context, we will have the request body. So we can access the headers and determine that this user is authenticated. And we can do all of that inside of here. But since we will use this middleware or helper function in multiple routes, so we need to put it in its own function. So here in the util, I'm going to create a new file, call it check auth like this. And here we will need a JSON web token to decode the token that we got. So we'll say JWT equals require JSON web token, and here we'll say module.exports equals this function that will take the context and do the following. And we also need the secret that we have, because we will use that as well to verify the tokens, because we used it to encode the tokens. So here we'll say const and destructure the secret key, and this will be equal require, and from the same level, actually not from the same level, it's back one level config. All right, so here we need to get this header, so we will say const auth header equals, because at the end of the day, this context will have a will have an object, and amongst many things, it will have headers inside of it. And inside the headers, we need to get to this authorization header. And here we'll say the auth header equals context dot dot request dot headers dot authorization. So here we need to check for it, because maybe someone didn't send this header. So we'll say if auth header Now, if we have it, then we need to get the token from it. And a convention when working with authorization tokens, that we send this header with a value of bearer, space, and then we put the token here. So what we need to say here, we need to get that token itself, and we say const token equals auth header dot split, and we split this by bearer space, meaning it will have two strings. The first one is bearer space and the second is the actual token. So we need to get the second, so we need to get index 1, because a split returns an array of a couple of strings. So here we'll say if token, because this can as well still not exist. So we'll say if token. Now we need to verify the token and make sure that we issued this token and it's still valid and not expired. So we'll say try, and because this could fail, and we'll say const user equals jwt dot verify, and we pass it the token and we pass it our secret key. And now we'll say return user. So if this fails, it will go to the catch block, and we'll say catch error. And here we can throw any type of error, but let's be more specific and let's import this type of error. We'll say const, and we need to import authentication error equals require Apollo server, like this. And now if we fail in verifying that, we want to throw that, so we throw new authentication error, and we will say invalid / expired token. Because if this fails, it will come here. That means it's either invalid or expired, or blacklisted as well, but we're not doing that in our application. Now, after these if statements, we need to throw some errors as well, because if these if statements failed, if these if conditions failed, that means we either don't have a token or we don't have an auth header. So we need to as well tell the user that why this failed. So we'll say here throw new error, and this will say authentication token must be, well, actually not provided. Here it was provided, but maybe it was the wrong format. So we'll say must be, and we escape a thing quotation mark, and we'll say like this, bearer space and token, formatted like that. And then we will close this, and here we need to throw another error. That means if we didn't get an auth header, we'll say, let's just copy this, and we'll say authentication token must be, we'll say provided, or actually authentication header, because here if we get here, that means we didn't have the header itself. All right, let's save all of this, and let's go to posts and actually get this check auth function. So we'll say const check auth equals require, and we go back, what is it, 2 levels? Yeah, 2 levels into util / check -auth, like this. Now here we will use the context to get the user, so we'll say const user equals check auth, and we pass it the context. Now, because the way we structured it here, that if we don't have a header, it throws an error here. If the token is not valid, it throws an error here. So if there's anything wrong with the token, an error will be thrown here. Otherwise, we will get a user, and this will return a user, which means if we get to this block of code right here after this, that means there was no errors. That means there is a user definitely here. That means we can proceed with this action and allow it and actually create this post. So we'll say const new post equals new post. We have the model here. So we'll say new post, and we'll pass it the body like that, because we already destructured it from here. And we need to pass it the user. Remember, in our post model, where is it? Right here, the post, we gave it this user. We can still attach that ID, and it will auto-populate it if we want to get the user from the post later. So we'll say user is user.id, oops, ID, I don't know why it's auto correcting me. And here we'll say username is user.user name, like that. And we need to give it a created at, which is new date to ISO string, like that. Now we need to save this post, so we'll say const post equals new post dot save. And actually I forgot to put await because this is asynchronous. And here we need to just return this post, so return post. Alright, let's see if all of this works, and we're checking the thing. Let's do here a console log just to make sure that we have our user. So we console log user, and let's test this out. Alright, so we go here and let's open a new tab, and here I'll say mutation, create post. I want to pass it a body, and this body will say this is another post. And let's get from it all the fields. So create that and the username. Alright, this should fail and tell us that we need an authentication token, but it doesn't. It says cannot return. Oh, because we didn't add this mutation. So here in the index, we want to say as well that we want the mutations from post resolvers. Oops, what is that? Resolvers.mutation. Alright, let's save, make sure that it started. It has. Let's go here, let's send that. Cool, it says authentication header must be provided. That's actually wrong, authorization header. Let me change that. So authentication token, that's fine, but here it's an authorization header. Which is actually a misnomer. It should be authentication, but whatever. So if we send, okay, let's send again, it's still restarting the server. Cool, authorization header must be provided. So let's provide one. So if we just slide this up, like extend this, we can here add some HTTP headers. So here we say authorization, and here let's put an empty string and see what happens. Okay. Oh, I see. Even an empty string is counted as that it's not truthy. So let's put some gibberish, and then now it says that it must be bearer space token. All right, let's put bearer space and then some gibberish that's not actually a valid token. It will say invalid/expired token. Now let's actually put in a real token. So here let's log in again. Let's copy this token, go to create post, and here bearer space, and we paste that, and now let's run it. And there we go, we get this, and the post was created, and the username was assigned that user that we logged in with. And if we go to getPost here, let's change this into getPosts and get all of them. Okay, let me remove that actually. And there we go, we get this, another post has been sent and it's added to our database. There's one little problem here, is that the latest post is coming last in the array, but we don't want that. We want the latest posts to be first on the array to show them on our website. So we can just sort the result from getPosts. So let's go to the post resolvers, and here in getPosts we just need to chain another method here called sort. And the sort will take a condition, and we will sort by created at, and to tell Mongoose that we want it in descending order, we just say -1. Let's save, make sure that it's restarted. I think it's restarted. NodeMon is behaving a bit weird lately. Alright, there we go. So another post now, it's first instead of being last. Alright, let's now implement the delete post. Let's go here. Let's go down here in mutation. We add another one. We'll say async delete post, and this will take the parent, and it will take the structure, the post ID from the arguments, and of course we need the context as well. And here we'll do the same. We'll say const user equals check auth, and we pass it the context. And now even if we have the user, this isn't enough, because we need to make sure that this user is the creator of the post they want to delete. We don't want any user to delete any post. They're only allowed to delete their own posts. So here we'll simply say if user.username equals the post dot, well, actually we need to get the post first, and we need to wrap everything in a try block. So we'll say try const post, we need to find that post first, is await equals await post dot find by ID, post ID, And then here we put that if statement, and we'll say if the username is the same as post.username, that means this is the owner of the post. So we just await post.delete. Oops, delete. Oh, I hate the word delete. Here we just, after it's deleted, we just return the string post deleted successfully. And then here else, if it's not, that means we're like, yo, this is not your post, you can't delete it. So we say throw new, did we bring that? I want to bring authentication error here as well. So let's go to check auth, get the same one from a Paul server, copy it, and actually this is from the library, so I'll put it up there. And we'll say throw new authentication error, and this will say action not allowed. And we need to handle as well if this try block fails, so we'll say catch error, and we'll say throw new error like that. All right, let's save. Let's look at our posts. So we have 2 posts by user. I actually added 2 new users. Let's try to log in with a different user. So I'll log in with Jane, and she has the same password because why not? And let's go here. We can actually have multiple mutations, so I'll call this create post. I mean multiple operations on the same tab. So here I'll have the other mutation, and you can name it whatever you want. I'll name this as well the same delete post, and this will be the mutation delete post, and you will take a post ID, and we'll give it the post ID of, where is it? This one that was created by user. So we'll try to delete that. But the thing is, let's try to delete it with the token of Jane. So this shouldn't be allowed, okay? So here I will paste that token from Jane and hit play and hit the delete post, and it says authentication or error action not allowed. Cool, so Jane can't delete user's post. But if I go here and press Ctrl Z, it will go back to the token from user. And or actually let's get a new token, because why not? So here we'll say user, and we'll get that token from user, and then go here in bearer and paste that token and press play, delete post. There we go, post deleted successfully. And if we fetch all posts again, we find that that post has actually been deleted. Alright, so that's it for the create and delete posts. In the next video, we're going to be posting comments and liking posts. So yeah, look forward to that. And guys, if you're enjoying this series, if you enjoy this type of content, please drop a like. Let me know in the comments what, what you're stuck with, or any questions, and subscribe if you're not. If you're not subscribed, subscribe right now. I'm telling you. Alright. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.